What's up, everybody? Welcome back. We've got a really good conversation for you today. So, Matt and I have been building a digital relationship that is soon to be a physical relationship. Wow, that sounds weird. But I'm moving to Florida in 30 days, and we're going to be able to actually, hopefully, shake hands because, Florida COVID-19 is not really a thing. So, we'll be able to shake hands. People won't be weird about it there.
Yeah,
And I'm really
yeah.
looking forward to that. But today, Matt and I are going to set the stage for hopefully some future conversations because I really do enjoy Matt's perspective. I think that he
Likewise.
brings yeah, thank you. And I think he brings a lot to the table that a lot of people, like I said to you before, Matt, they're just not willing to talk about. So Matt has a background in trading, but also has deep investment knowledge. And I think it comes from more of the fundamental side than the technical side. And a lot of the people that I've been talking to are really technically focused in their trading. So I think from a couple different areas, Matt, you bring a good perspective. But for everybody that doesn't know you, do you want to say hello and introduce yourself for us before we get into it?
Yeah, of course. What's up, everybody? My name is Matt. I'm the co-founder of One Percenters. If you guys haven't heard of it, you've probably heard of it now since I just said it. I live here in Florida. I'm 26. I've been trading for 6 years. Haven't worked the job in three. I know everybody always asks, "Oh, well, are you full time?" That's like their major focus. Oh, do you not work? Like, is this what you
Right.
really do? Yes, this is what I really do. But I am an entrepreneur, and I always believe in multiple streams of revenue. So it's not only trading. I do invest, like you said. I do have an educational platform. I do many things.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm all ears for whatever it is that we have in store today. I'm open
Cool.
book.
And
Go ahead.
no, and I think that even right there, we could start with the one percenters. That's a newer venture for you, longer than trading. Like you said, you've been trading for just as long as I have. So what was the inception behind the one percenters?
Okay, yeah. So good question. What happened was I believe everybody when they start their trading journey, they're trying to find insights. They're trying to find somebody that could tell them do this and that.
Hmm.
And I was one of those kids. I was always jumping from group chat to group chat, mentor to this person to that. And it got to a point where I realized I'm asking questions that can't be answered. And it comes down to people not understanding finance and economics and just understanding, you know, everything that's going on that plays into markets and fluctuations and valuations. And I ended up being like the 1% of every single group chat that I was in. And I was like, I've been kicked out numerous times. I've been, oh, don't say that. I've been messaged personally. Stop talking to my people like that. They're looking at you. They're questioning
You're
you.
stepping on toes.
Exactly. Yeah. So I kind of just realized, all right, well, these people don't really know what they're doing. I'm gonna go start my own thing because nobody understands what's going on. They're just, this guy told me support and this guy told me resistance, and that's it. And it's kind of like,
Yeah,
come on.
I can relate to that so much. When I got started in trading, there was no solid education. So it pushed me almost to the point, kind of like you, where it's like I got to just find a system, build a system for myself. I was like, I'm going to
Yeah.
take what I've learned and figure this out and build something for me, just like that's what you're
Yep.
doing now. So you guys have the education platform, you guys have the podcast. Who are you looking to talk to, and what types of conversations do you guys have on the podcast? And for everybody watching, I'm going to put the link in the description too, so you can check that out.
Thank you. Thank
But
you. Yeah.
tell, yeah,
So the podcast, we try to keep it finance related, but people don't understand how much political, um, like point of views come into markets. They don't understand how much economics goes into valuations of any asset class you're looking at. They don't understand a lot of that. So I do try to say, I'm gauging it towards Forex or gauging it towards a certain market, but it goes so far out. It even goes out into controversial talks and it goes into many different things. And to me, I think that being financially literate is extremely important. Not a lot of
yeah.
people have the terminologies and the understanding to even hold a conversation about economics or politics. And those things play a big role in our markets, no matter what people say or think. Support and resistance, for instance, it's just supply and demand. You're just seeing something is either has too much supply, and most times the supply needs to come down, which would be resistance. Support, there's too much demand. Like when an iPhone drops, that would be like a support level because there's so much demand for the new iPhone. And those things are like the fundamental biases why technicals work.
Right. So when you now, because I remember when we spoke first, you were originally like a technical only guy, like most people, but then you realize, like you said, that a lot of people don't know what they're talking about, and you've really pushed yourself to do more research into fundamentals. And like you said, I think your perspective on the political side of things has helped you definitely make money in your trading. So when you see everything going on now, and you guys go on the podcast and you try to bring out this information to the masses, how do you decipher what's a reliable source of information and what's not? And I think you could apply that to trading and like going for trading information, trading education, but also with your news, your everyday
Yeah.
news.
Yeah. All right. So if you guys want to know, the number one thing you don't want to do is turn on your TV.
Right.
So not to get too controversial, but it's just my nature. All the media outlets on the television that you have, which television, let's break it down, tell a vision. They're just trying to tell and portray a vision upon your brain, almost a type of brainwashing. But anyways, don't turn on the TV. It's owned by a single entity that has always an agenda to be pressed. Journaling has turned into political swaying type of influential ways. It's not even real journaling anymore. So where I go, I pay attention to people that are literally not allowed on TV. I don't know if you've ever heard of Peter Schiff.
Of
He's my
course.
number one to go to. Peter
Of
Schiff.
course.
I listen to the Corbett Report. He's amazing. I pay for Epic Times. Epic Times is a great platform. I love them.
So let
There's
me ask you a
so
question
many.
just to be very no, because like this is where I go too. And it's not that I don't look at what's on TV because I do want to know what they're saying. I like to be in the know of
Yeah,
everything.
yeah,
But what I have a hard time with then is just as it like the number one thing is that no one's right 100% of the time, right? No one is going to get every story right 100% of the time. So when we go to these alternative sources and you think that you find something valuable, how do you then validate it to the masses? Or do you just not? And it's literally that divided and there's no more conversation. What do
it's hard. That's a hard one because 90% of people are so close-minded. The moment you give them a new bias or new idea, they have to defend it because that's
Yeah,
their ego. They don't want to break their beliefs. So whenever someone's beliefs are affected or, I want to say in danger, they're going to be
of
defensive. So I
course.
kind of just say my opinion on my channel or wherever I speak. But the way I validate it is I see what, like you said, I see what the mass media is saying. I compare what I have found to many other people that I follow, and I make my own biased judgment. I do my own research
Mhm.
wherever it may be. I don't use Google. I use DuckDuckGo. I use the Brave browser. I use alternatives because Google, like I said, all these behemoths of companies that are so huge are all tied back to this one single entity. I don't even like saying the name because people are gonna be like, "Oh, conspiracy theorist," or
Of
"Oh,
course. No, but I know what you're saying. So when
yeah."
if you go that alternative route, when you were looking for trading education, do you think that was the first time in your life that you really had to go an alternative route because everybody, or have you had to realize that through other points in your life before that?
Um, I think it was a compounding effect of, okay, I understand technicals, but like, why
Mhm.
do they work? Well,
Right.
what is this? Why is this working? Why is this happening? And I just got really curious, and that's what dove me into the backside of markets. I like to call it the backside because it's what's going on behind the charts. What's going on behind the charts is what's going to drive the currency exchanges, it's going to drive stock price valuations, it's going to drive anything. And I just got really curious with that. And after looking behind the charts, I found, wow, every time I see a setup, a technical setup, it aligns with a fundamental bias that I had previously just read about. And it's like, wow, these two are like peanut butter and jelly. If you just trade technicals, it's like driving a car with no gas. You need the fundamentals. The fundamentals are the gas. It's you
Absolutely.
can't have one without the other.
No, absolutely. And even on like for me on a short-term basis, like over the past couple of days, there's been a decent amount of volatility behind GBP. So a lot of the GBP pairs have been presenting some entry signals that are really moving strong. And I think it's because you have a lot of talk right now with this fundamental news potentially of a no deal Brexit coming. So you can see even there, like for someone like me on the shorter term side, layering the fundamentals into my everyday trading, it's something I feel like no one should ignore. But at the same time, you probably have seen a lot of new traders come in and they try to trade NFP. They try to predict a news event. So tell everybody the difference between what you're talking about and trying to predict a news event like that, trying to place a trade and forecast what a release is going to say.
Okay, yeah. So what's really helped me is there is so many currencies. Each currency is tied to a country. Look at the country as a business. Look at it as a corporation, right? And the currency is like your stock that you're handing out. So my problem was when I first dove into fundamentals and understanding economics is I tried to understand all the countries. You can't do that. You can't be up to date with everything. You're gonna have no life. So I just
Right.
stick to the U.S., and I stick to the dollar index, and it allows me to gauge it pegged to other currencies. Like for instance, I've been for the last I'd say month now, I've been just shorting the hell out of USD CAD. I have my reasons behind, and the fundamentals allow me to stay calm. But I don't mean to get off track, but jumping back to what you were saying, being a
Yeah.
short-term trader, I feel like
Yeah.
fundamentals are not as crucial. I'm a swing trader.
Right.
I see value and I
Yeah.
hold things for no less than a week.
Right.
So if I was short term, fundamentals wouldn't make too much sense to me, but it is
Sure.
important because you can get psyched out, like you said, NFP, which I talk about a lot. NFP, non-farm payroll, there's always a knee-jerk reaction. You can't predict the news, but when you're up to date with an economy, you could kind of see where it's headed. You could see their previous numbers. Okay, what have they done from their last NFP to this one? Has there been
Sure.
improvement? And then allow you to gauge whether they're going to hit expectations or become below or over expectations. It gives you a really good bias in how to position yourself or hold a position if you're going to hold it over news.
That makes a lot of sense. And I feel like even to the side of the swing trader who tries to come in and understand these macro events, what I find is that no matter what, whether it's short term or long term, I think you still need cycles of like going through months, quarters, years of the market to really tap into that. Like I feel like even when I started, if someone had explained to me what every news event was, like you just said, there's too many things. It's like
Too many.
overwhelming.
It
So
is.
now, as I've gained a little bit more experience, and I still feel like I'm just getting into my trading career, I feel like now I
Yeah, you
know
feel like
what
that.
news events are every Thursday. You know what I mean? I know what time oil news comes out. You start to see the patterns, and then if you're actually reading some, news articles, doing some research, not just from CNN, and you're trying to get a feel for everything, you can
Yeah.
then say, well, look, I know how the U.S. unemployment numbers have been coming out the last couple of weeks. Or for example, when coronavirus first hit, you could have known that we were going to see the dollar index come down when that first came out, when those unemployment numbers came out. And that's exactly what happened. So that day, I remember it specifically, I was trading Euro USD long as dollar index fell. So it's interesting to see how when it all does come together through experience, the fundamental aspect of trading is on both sides of it, short term and long term, but in different ways, like you said. So
Exactly.
I want to pivot to more of like the current events and how that's impacting your trading. So I know you said you've been short in UCAD. What, with everything going on right now, I mean, the first question I guess I want to get your opinion on is the stock market. Even though both of us don't really talk about stocks too often, it's interesting to see the protests, the coronavirus, the lockdown, and the stock market right now, right? Like it's like the opposite. It's like the redheaded stepchild or whatever they would call it,
Yep.
right? It's weird.
The number one thing I would say about the stock market is I think we've talked about this in one of my podcasts when you were on, is
Mhm.
back then the stock market used to resemble our now it does not resemble our economy. It
No,
it resembles the buying power of the Federal Reserve.
right.
And as you could see how resilient and how much force they really do have is just mind blowing to me because everything that I've learned through economics and understanding, just economies is completely debunked now because you have the Federal Reserve with an unlimited amount of buying power. Well, unlimited because the more
Mhm.
they do, the more it gets. But it's
Right.
crazy how much they can influence a financial instrument like indices, for instance. Like the S&P is climbing back up to all-time highs. We had a
Right.
V-bottom recovery. It's like
Right.
what this is
With
totally
30
against
million
everything.
people unemployed, with 30% of small businesses that closed, they're not coming back. I have a hard time with it. And this is where people will say I'm stupid. They'll say that I'm wrong, but this is just what my gut tells me. It's like, this is why I don't trust the stock market. This is why I
Yeah,
don't put money in long-term investment funds that are tied to the stock market. It doesn't make any sense to me because of things like this. And we'll see what happens over the next couple of months. We'll see if it does come back down. We'll see if there's a second wave. We'll see what happens. But I do think it's not even a question anymore. This is definitely a V bottom recovery, like you said. Look at Apple, look at Amazon, look at the top stocks. Now the airlines, they haven't come back, but that's logical. We're not traveling, we're
Yeah.
not moving yet. So when you think about future investments, since we both kind of agree about the stock market not being the best one, do you instantly go to Bitcoin right now?
Oof. Okay. My bias about Bitcoin has dramatically changed, and I think that's very empowering for an investor to say, I changed my belief about this asset.
Mhm. It takes
A lot of people
experience,
get
it takes maturity.
it does.
Yeah,
A lot of people marry their investments, and I think that's a
100%.
very novice thing to do. But just backtracking just really quick on back to the stock market. You know how many people
Mhm.
message me like, "Oh, is it safe to buy stocks?" First thing I say is,
Dude,
when you go to a car dealership, do you want to pay over the asking price or do you want to pay below? And if they say below, then I'm going to say then don't buy stocks. Because if you
right,
buy stocks right now, you're paying above asking price.
right.
But that's my take on that. Back to Bitcoin.
Yeah,
Unfortunately, it's not panning out to be the asset that I wanted. It was supposed to be a hedge against the economy. It was supposed to be a hedge against the stock market. And if you pull up the two charts together, they move completely in tandem. Like they're almost 100% correlated, and that's not what I was looking for. So now I'm becoming more of a gold bug, a precious metal kind of guy. I still hold, a good amount of crypto assets because I've
mhm,
been in them for many years now, since
sure,
2015, 2016. So
yeah.
my positions are not threatened at the moment. I'm well up on them. I don't have to worry. But anyone
And
that
you're a
wants to
gold
buy
guy now.
exactly, anyone that wants to buy in now, I would definitely be a little bit skeptical, but it's
I
better
agree.
than buying in to see for sure.
Why gold over silver or platinum or
Good question. So actually, it at this moment, I'm not gold over silver. What I
okay?
do is I pull up the gold to silver ratio chart, and I see where gold is compared to silver or vice versa. So at the moment, we're sitting at about 95 last time I checked, which is high.
Yeah,
Silver's still undervalued. The moment it comes
yeah.
down into the 50 range, starts pulling back, that's when I become a gold buyer. At the moment, I'm big on silver. Silver just had
Yeah.
its run to $18, and
Hmm.
I I loved it, and it's
Hmm.
just something that's going to keep panning out. But
Do
all
you have
my
a price
people,
target for silver?
the time frame,
5 years.
5 years. Ooh, I would
100?
definitely love. Yeah, I would love to say the three-digit area.
Yeah. You'd like, I mean, with technology going in the direction that it is and silver being in more demand to build the batteries and build, we talked about that, build a lot of the high tech equipment, you actually need silver. Um, that plus the fact that even people like you and me now are talking about it, I feel like it's only going to drive the price of it up. But then the
Oh, well,
question is, and I feel like this is what a lot of people maybe would want to know too. When you talk about buying these things, how do you buy them and then hold them and make sure you're actually making money on it? Do you buy coins? Do you buy bars? And then what's your plan to sell them?
okay. So, there's a lot of ways to approach this. Some people like to buy the contract of it, which I'm totally against because they could always print more contracts than there is
Right.
physical. Number one.
Me too.
So
I
stay away
definitely,
from
definitely, that's like buying a stock. Like, no.
exactly. Now,
Yeah.
when we start looking at physical holdings, when you get bullion, you tend to get a better deal.
Yes.
I do buy coins. That's just me because if we do head towards an area,
Right. Where the I already know what you're gonna say, bro. Because we're in the same boat. Where if we head towards
yeah,
where the dollar's not worth anything, you're not gonna go trading silver bricks, silver bars. You're gonna want to trade
yeah,
coins. So those coins. So
yeah,
then, all right. That's what you're gonna say, right?
yeah, yep,
All right. So
yep,
now, do we buy fractional gold coins? Can we buy 1/10 of? Is that okay? Do you think that's worth the
yeah.
money still?
I have
Yeah.
yes, I have tons of 1/10s. The only
Yeah.
problem is you get waxed on a premium. But
Right.
like I said, I'm not looking to sell my gold. I'm looking to
No.
gold to me is an insurance. It's an
Yeah.
insurance policy.
Absolutely.
If you have
Yeah.
insurance on your car, that's my
Yeah.
insurance on my money, on my net
Yeah.
worth.
Yeah.
So that's why I'm not
And you
worried
can pass
about.
that gold down. I mean, I don't think anyone, in my opinion, should be buying the physical gold to sell it in a year. It's going to be
Exactly,
hard. The premium is going
exactly.
to wax you, like you just said. I like
Yeah.
that term. It does, because it really does.
It
It's
does. It
crazy.
does.
You're going to pay right now. Gold right now, as we're talking, it's at 16.95. If you go to buy it right now, I'll even tell you right because I can pull it up.
It's got to be at least 18. You're paying 18 for it.
I'll tell you right now.
And back to where I hold it, I have a safe. Some people do pay a custodian.
1818. Yep.
I was right.
1818 for the. for the 1 ounce coin. Yep.
Yep.
So it's literally 100. Yeah. Good. But yeah, it's crazy.
What I was saying is back to the custodial part of gold. I have a safe that I have, and I hold all my precious metals. But if you feel
Sure.
uncomfortable with that, there's custodial services that hold it for you. I
Right.
even know of one that allows you to have a debit card tied to your
Wow.
gold and silver that
Is
you
that
could
the
actually
Shift
control.
company with Peter
Yeah.
Schiff? Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
Well, I want you to talk to us about that, but I want to give you something too. So I found this company called BlockFi, and I'm not getting paid to say this. They actually will pay you up to 8% APY on your crypto. So if you put the money in there like a high interest savings account, the highest interest that you're going to get on any bank right now is 1.3, and that's with Goldman and their Marcus account. I have one, that's how I know. And I look at
Nice.
it often because I always want to know who's going to have the highest interest rate so I could put some money there and not have it be at Wells Fargo, right?
Yeah.
So this stuff, you can put your money into crypto and then transfer the crypto here and it'll gain up to 8% interest a year. It's pretty interesting.
There was a company back in 2017. It's called Uphold. They do the same thing.
I think I've heard of them actually.
Yeah, Uphold, and I'm not paid either.
Yeah, there you go.
I'm just want to know.
No, but this is good because then people can go look up these resources and take from it. So now,
Yeah,
um, do you have a long-term storage for your crypto? Like, how do you do a ledger?
I have a ledger. I have two ledgers. Yeah.
Did like the flash drive looking thingies? You put them in a safe.
Yep.
So
One
that's the
is
next move.
exactly, yeah. One is a Bluetooth. It's the second version of the Ledger X, and then I
Yeah.
have the regular one that you got to plug in.
And they're not even that expensive, so it's stupid to not get it. It's like 150 bucks.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. All right. So then I got to get on that. I've been slacking on that, but I will get on that. So I want to pivot us here for the second part of our conversation, just to go back to something you said, because Riley and I have been doing a lot of deep diving into consciousness and our egos and how that's playing a part in who we are and how that impacts our trading. And I feel like I've, in the last 2 years, changed a lot through the information and the content I'm consuming and through a lot of experiences and things like that. How big of a role do you think that waking up, awakening that trader within you almost, right? How big of a role do you think that plays in becoming consistently profitable and being able to leave your job and then go into these other areas of investment that we're talking about?
It is so big that if you don't, you will never make it. Period.
Yeah. Yeah.
Period.
Yeah.
Like I can't even emphasize how important it is.
Yeah.
It's number one. It's before even learning.
And then you learn,
Before
I
that.
think, no, I agree. And then, but you don't know that until you get into it. And then you realize
Yeah.
that it's a never ending thing, right? Like it's a never
Yeah.
ending path of learning.
Yeah. Yeah. One thing I
Yeah.
always say, you can't finish learning. You don't finish it.
No.
You know.
What do you think helped wake you up? Was there any book? Was there anything specific that maybe like a new trader that's struggling and they're like, look, I got the technicals. I got this system. It works. I like it, but I can't get consistent. Like I'm hitting winners, but I'm not managing them the right way. How can I tap in deeper?
Well, my reason of becoming, you could say, enlightened.
Mhm.
Mine was through actual like personal traits. Like I had anxiety that I had to overcome, and using your mind to overcome it rather than a pill
Yeah.
it changes you. It changes your personality, changes how you see things, how you perceive things. And I guess through that, I was able to apply it through financial markets, financial assets. When I would
Yeah.
have losing streaks, or when I would think like, is this even worth it? Is this gonna pan out? I think having such a, a vigorous, routined mindset just made me keep walking even when I was looking down.
Mm.
It,
Yeah.
it, it's
I think
it's tough to say you got to be optimistic, but that's what you really have to do, and no matter what it is.
it's tough though, because I feel like as a new trader, a lot of people struggle. Like a lot of the calls that I do with the newer guys, they're very insecure within themselves. They're coming into the market with a lot of people's biases, a lot of fear, a lot of
Yeah,
what society tells them to think about trading.
yeah,
And they almost have to swallow their own ego before they even know it exists in order to
yeah,
then take that first step forward. And I feel like for me, it's a process that I still have to work on every day to come to the market. Like what I've been doing now is meditating before I start to trade. And I think because I
amazing.
wake up and I like get so excited to trade that I'm like, I'll just jump in the first thing I see. I'm here to play. Let's play. But when I've been doing this, it's been slowing me down. Do you do anything like that? Do you meditate, yoga? Do you do anything like that?
Tons of yoga.
Oh, I got
Yoga
the
every
bands
day.
right here too, bro. Remember? You got me on
I saw
these.
that. I saw that. Yep. Yep. That's great. I love them. I do yoga. I do
Yep.
meditate. I do put it this way. I work on myself more than I work in the markets.
Yeah.
Because when I work on myself more than I do in the markets, when I go to the markets, it's me shopping at the markets. I'm able to
Right.
find what I want
Right.
without having to say, fuck it, I'll try this one. No, I
Right.
know what I'm looking for. I know what I want
Right.
because I've worked on me, and I'm not shaken out of a position. I'm not looking at other people's opinions. When you first start, it's inevitable. You're going to go through that. You're going to feel that. You're going to question everything. But you're going to end up forming an ego, like you said, and an ego is just a set of beliefs that you could identify yourself with. And anything
Mhm.
that comes against that, you're going to be defensive. But let that down. You need to be open minded to everything. Because if you're not, you're never going to learn, you're never going to grow, and you're never going to expand. You're going to be stuck in your rigid ways. So if your rigid ways aren't working, why are you protecting it? You got to be open minded.
Why do you think people are protective over it? Why do you think that they're so willing to stay married to something that isn't working rather than just being like, why don't I try something new?
It goes back to they don't want to be wrong. Nobody wants to be accountable or wrong. And that is just an egotistical trait, period.
Yeah, dude, that's the truth, bro.
Yeah. Nobody
That's really
wants
the
to be
truth.
wrong. Like,
Yeah.
you know how much it sucks for me to say, you know what? Maybe I'm wrong about Bitcoin.
Right.
Maybe I'm wrong. Regardless, I have a large holding. I've been in since early, but
Yeah.
maybe I'm wrong on where I think it's headed. I
Yeah.
still have hope. I'm still kind of married to it, but I'm able to talk down on it. I'm
Right.
open minded in a sense.
Absolutely. Dude, I try to be the same way because otherwise you end up getting boxed in too. And I never want to be boxed into one idea. New information comes out too frequently now with the
Yeah,
internet, with everybody having a story, everybody having a mouth. There's too much information where I'm going to say this is the only way, this is the right way. And that can even tie
exactly.
back to what we talked about at the beginning, where like you don't know who to trust with your sources. So it's better to just realize that everybody has a voice, everybody can be wrong, nothing is 100% certain, especially when it comes to trading. So all we can do is take in data, try to come up with some type of reasonable, probable idea to generate trades behind, and then we can go forward with that. When you came into trading, I wanted to ask you also, did you trade crypto on like the day trading side at all? Was that ever a temptation or was that too speculative?
I still from time to time margin trade cryptos.
Yeah,
I of course, I don't know how many times I'm gonna say it. I hold the physical. I have the ledger like you said, but I
yeah,
still I when you hold a physical, for instance, let's go back to gold really quick. When you hold
yeah,
gold
yeah,
and you know how to margin trade, you're able to hedge the fluctuation of your physical gold in your safe. For instance, back in, oh man, it was one of my best shorts on gold. It was either in 2017 or 2018. I had a good amount of gold. It was up, and I found an amazing short on the margin side of it. And I took the short, and it completely counteracted the fluctuation of the gold in my safe. So yes, I do margin trade cryptos,
mm.
but not as frequently. I'm actually looking
That
at
does make
Bitcoin as,
sense. That's really interesting. It's
yeah,
almost like a hedge.
it's a complete hedge, yeah, and and you actually make money during that hedge, of course. One thing that I'm looking at right now is BTC. I forgot if it's the weekly. I was looking at it this morning, weekly or daily, but it's forming a nice bearish signal, unfortunately. But I'm gonna wait till Friday for the week close.
Yeah.
We're gonna see what's gonna happen. The candle could change come
I'm
Friday,
so
and
long term on Bitcoin though that I don't even care.
me
Like
too.
I'm trying
Me,
because I don't have money in it that I need for rent. I don't look at it like the Bitcoin money for me and Riley is not the safety money like gold is, right? That I have in the safe and things like that.
yeah,
The Bitcoin is the home run dollars because if it does go back up
yeah,
to 50K, if it does, or not that it went to 50K, if it
yeah.
goes up to 20, you know what I mean? And then if it does, like the guy who runs Real Vision TV said it's going up to 440K. Okay,
Love
take
Real
take me
Vision.
there.
Love
Yeah,
Real
dude, I love
Vision.
Real Vision.
That was Raul Paul that said that. I love him.
Yeah, yeah, that's his name, Raul Paul. Dude, I love them. And they put me on to Kyle Bass. Kyle Bass has been a huge influence in me now, just because he's someone who comes off as open-minded. I think that's who I'm attracted to the most. What about you? Like, if you're open-minded, I'll listen because that just shows me you're willing to be
Yeah,
wrong.
yeah. You gotta be willing to be wrong. And I'm always the first to say, oh, I'm not. I don't know if how I feel about this anymore. I'm always
Even
changing
when
about it.
even when people ask me for input on a trade, like in our group chat that I trade with, I'm like, I'll give you my input, but it's just my 2 cents. But people take my word for God sometimes because of my name. But it's like I'm always willing to be wrong. I've been wrong plenty of times. I think the only reason that you and I are even having this conversation is because to the 1% that it matters, we're willing to be wrong and just accept it and then make money rather than stay trying to be right and losing money. You know, for it might only be a sliver that you need to care that much more, but we got it, and that's why I wanted to have the conversation with you
Yeah.
to share that. And there was
You know,
actually a question I was good,
I'd
please.
actually rather listen to someone that's been wrong 10
Yeah,
times than someone that has been
absolutely,
right, for sure.
absolutely. When you first look like when you look back to when you first got into trading, was there anything now that you really wish you would have done differently?
Ooh. That's a
Not
really
any
good one.
individual trade, because oh, I sold it, but I wish I would have bought it. Not like
That
that.
was the first thing that came in my head. Yeah, that was the
I
first thing
mean,
that came.
bigger picture than that. Anything specifically like you went down a certain path, a certain mindset maybe that you would rather have switched sooner.
Yeah, I wish I had switched sooner to having a portfolio and seeing value outside of margin trading. Margin trading is very active. It's very, in and out, boom, 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 boom. But when you have a portfolio that is just compounding and growing over time,
Mhm.
I started doing that in 2017. But prior to that, all I had was like some crypto, which wasn't anything. I mean, obviously it had amazing returns, but it wasn't where I should have neglected so much. I should have looked at, owning stock. I should have looked at owning all these other things versus no, just margin trading. All I need is MT4 and all I need
Right,
is trade
right.
these Forex currencies. No, no. That's I can't even tell you how wrong that was for
It's just
me. I don't know.
short-sighted.
It is.
I
It,
made
it
the same
is. And
mistake.
I saw a crazy statistic. Not it's more than not people don't have financial assets. Don't have any assets.
No.
When you don't have any assets, you have no potential of being rich. I think it's very important to have assets while you're margin trading. I use my margin trading as a hedge most of the time because I have so many different assets.
Yeah, that makes sense. When you took that first step into diversification, because that's what it is that we're talking about. That's what we've been talking about a lot, I feel like. When you took
Yeah.
that first step, for someone that hasn't, what would you tell them? If they're like, okay, I'm, pumping extra money into my trading account. I got it up to a size that now I'm making, some decent returns on it. I want to take a little bit of this money and I want to go to a different basket to take this egg. Where do we go? What's the first step? Especially right now, it's weird. It's a tough time.
Yeah, it's a very tough time. First and
Gold's
foremost,
high,
obviously,
Bitcoin's weird, right? It's a tough time.
yeah, everything's it's so strange. It's very hard to even park your money. I think learning how to margin trade in this current day is very important. But what I would say, of course, number one is research. You need to learn how to break down an economy, or let's take out that word economy. You need to learn how to break down a company, because once
Sure.
you can break down a company, an economy is the same thing, it's just larger scale. You know,
Makes sense.
and once you're able to understand that and break that down, you'll be able to make a lot better investment decisions. And number two is don't pay attention to it every day. If you own a house, you're not going to check the price of your house every single day,
Right.
Just chill. You have the house. It's not going nowhere. Same thing with the assets. You have the assets, you relax. No one's going to come and take them for you. If it's
Right.
down 10%, 5%, whatever it is, chill. You're not selling it right now. Relax.
Well, dude, it's a mindset of poverty and scarcity versus a mindset of long-term wealth building. And everybody, I especially know what it feels like to operate from the mindset of poverty, mindset of survival, mindset of like I gotta come up and make it. You know what I mean? Because I
Yeah.
I I know most people live in that mindset. We know what's the statistic? Like 75% of Americans couldn't handle $1,000 bill if it came up randomly,
Exactly.
something like
That's
that.
terrible.
Terrible.
That's
It's
terrible.
insane. It's crazy, and it makes that makes an argument for the socialism part of it. For all the socialist liberals, that is your argument. The fact that people couldn't handle a bill like that should show you how the divide, how deep the divide and how wide it
Yep.
really is. With
Yep.
everything going on right now, where do you sit with these protests? Give me your thoughts on that. I'm
All right.
interested to
So
know.
before I even speak about it, let's just make it
Yeah,
be known that I could do a 2-hour podcast on this alone.
I know.
So I'm just gonna give you a sprinkle.
Okay.
Where I
If we
sit,
two people, if we have to bring Matt back on for part two on this, let us know in the comments.
yeah. So where I sit with this whole thing is number one, you gotta know about me is I don't identify by a party. That's just to divide people. But I do my research. I do go deep into how these parties started. And it's funny. I hate to sound stereotypical or whatever it may be, but Hispanics, I'm Hispanic, blacks, more people on the lower class tend to be Democrats, period.
Yeah, yeah.
And they
They need
hate
the social benefits of the liberals.
exactly. They almost hate Republicans. But if you look to where the Republican Party started, it was actually a black male that started it.
Right.
So this whole thing that, Republican, oh, you're a white, you're a cracker, you're this or that. It's like, well, relax. Let's
Yeah.
not jump into the whole race thing because one majority of people don't know facts.
Right.
So I don't even like to speak facts because they get offended. But where I stand with this right now is I see it's a larger agenda, and I'm going to use the word, let's say, deep state, the phrase deep state. So it's a oh man, I want to bite my, I don't want to step on anyone's toes here, but it's a move from the Antifa, which is an activist movement, funded by George Soros, and we just got out of this whole COVID crap, and there was a lot of things that needed to happen during COVID that couldn't. One of them being martial law. I've been saying for a while there was going to be something blackout on the internet, which just happened Tuesday. And I said this months ago. There's going to be something going around on the internet blackout, and that's just because I'm up to date with certain really in deep rabbit hole kind of things that
We're
leak
talking
a
about
lot
the
of
posting,
information.
the blackout of the posting. The posts.
Yes, I said that exactly. I said that was going to happen about 2 months ago. People
What
are like,
does
what are you
that mean
talking
to you?
about?
Why did that mean something to you?
Exactly. So the blackout right there was to create a divide, to create a racial type of conflict, because when there's conflict, people have fear, they have things that will make them do things that are irrational, just like the
Sure.
rioting and loitering. And when there's
Sure.
rioting and loitering, that will allow them to implement martial law, which is the number one agenda that they want. When martial law is implemented, they have complete control of our day-to-day basis and things that we do. If we want to go to Publix, if we want to wipe our ass, they're gonna, what are you doing? Right on us. And that's what they want. And that's this whole racial divide, the whole blackout thing, it's to sway votes near election time towards the left wing. And I'm not against left wing, I'm not against right wing, I'm not against liberals. I just see it. I feel like I'm watching a movie. I just give my opinion on the movie. I'm not participating in the movie, but I'm watching it and I'm analyzing it and I'm saying my 2 cents. Um, I just feel like it's a big agenda that needs to be pressed, and I think it's ironic that every time we get close to an election time, there's something big. Last
Something
time was,
always.
we had Trayvon Martin. We always
Right.
have something, going back to racism around election time to
Because they
sway
wanted
votes.
to, well, dude, because listen, the whole thing with the parties is that when you divide people, it's easier to control them and sway them to that agenda.
Nice.
Well, if you don't
Yes,
have these racial fights, then we don't have as much divide, So it's
that was
actually,
nice.
if there was an agenda, we'll just say that for the YouTube
Yeah, yeah,
community. If
there
there
you go.
was an agenda, it would make sense in that sense of how you could see it being manipulated and seeing it being at least tried to be put into force. So when
For
you
sure.
look back at the COVID thing over the last couple of weeks and how it's kind of died off now, and especially being down in Florida, which is a red state. I'm in Pennsylvania right now, which is a blue state. Here, dude, I went to pick up my car yesterday at the Honda service, and literally everybody's wearing masks. You can't touch anybody. You can't. I went to shake the guy's hand. He got all weird at me. But in Florida, they took it completely different. And now, with all these protests, we'll see if there's a second wave. But it seems to me, and again, they only gave out $1,200, which is like, go fuck off, like $1,200. Come on,
I never
you know
even
what I mean?
got
For
mine.
dude, and that was in March. Like,
I
so,
was looking forward to that. I was gonna go buy like an ounce of gold or something, but I never
dude,
got it.
bro, that's exactly what we did. We took both of our checks. That's exactly what we did. But
Smart.
uh, I just think it's interesting because if you look at it, that kind of looks like a power grab. The money went somewhere, but businesses are not reopening, at least here in my state. It's not like the money came out and everything is okay. It's like the money came out and things are getting worse almost.
Well, here's a big problem. Currency needs to be tied to something, which we're known to labor. It needs to be tied by something. This money that they're doing is tied to nothing,
Nothing,
and
right?
now it's not even going to I haven't got my stimulus check. A lot of people haven't got theirs. A lot of
The small
companies
businesses
are.
didn't get loans. Yep.
The Fed is the number one buyer of bonds right now, which is mind blowing. They're printing trillions of dollars, which is well beyond '08. You know, we are
Wait,
going towards a
but
currency crisis.
the problem is that we won't, and this is what I'm watching guys like Real Vision and stuff like that. They're saying we won't really feel this for a few years. It's not going to be like, oh, money's out and now we're fucked. It's going to be like money's out. We need to kind of get our economy back a little bit, and then we're going to see the effects of having all this money out in the system once it comes out. But there's a lot of layers to this. There's going to be defaults. I mean, again, people still are having problems paying rent, if not more now than it was a few months ago.
Yeah,
Mortgages are in forbearance more now than they were in 2008. So this is a completely different thing. You know what I mean?
yeah. It is a beast. And what you just said right there rang a bell in my head.
Yeah.
A lot of the economic data that comes out when you're looking at, foreign exchange markets, that data, remember, is the month prior. So let's say we had a really bad month.
Right.
The numbers that we got is the month prior.
So
So
then there's a
that
reaction to that. It's all weird.
exactly
Yeah, it's delayed.
exactly that news release and the knee-jerk reaction on the market is not the month that you thought. Remember, it's the month prior. And that
Right.
that caught me up a lot too because I'm like, I don't
That's
get
a,
it. Exactly. These releases are delayed. So it's going to be a lot worse real soon because now we're getting to the months that were really bad that the economic data is coming out, and it's just going to keep getting worse and worse.
do you think people will go back to work soon? Like in Florida, how are most people back to work there?
A good portion, but not everyone.
Not
Not
everybody.
everyone. Yeah,
It's
I
tough,
would say
man. It's a weird time for people like you and me because like
it
in
is.
a way, we're the guys that could be like, told you so, told you should have been making money on the internet,
Yeah,
told you should have been not trusting everything that came off the
yeah,
TV and what the government was telling you, told you should be paying attention a little bit more, doing, but you don't want to be like that because that's not where you're going to make any friends in this environment. So it's a
yeah,
weird time. Like literally since the coronavirus for us, it's just been on the up, but it's because we're positioned correctly and people like you and me are now in a position to hopefully be able to give back and also help other people too. And I know that's what you're doing with your podcast
yeah,
and what you're doing with your education platform. That's what
yeah,
I'm doing and what Riley's doing with what we have, just similar. And that's why I wanted to bring you on because I feel like you share my obligation probably where you feel like you have knowledge, you feel like you have a little bit. You're like, we know we're not even near the
yeah.
answers, but it's
Nowhere
like,
near.
at least if we're scratching the surface and we can give you a little bit of what we scratched off, take it. You know what I mean? So yeah.
What my 2 cents on that is, I am a little bit grateful for all the circumstances that are happening in the U.S.
Mhm.
But one thing I've noticed is there's been a large shift, a large awakening in people, and it's kind of giving me
Definitely.
hope for our generation. A
Yep.
lot of our generation is starting not to trust the government, which makes me a
Yep.
little bit more bullish on cryptos. Not nearly as much as where I was, but um, I like it. I like people are waking up. People are becoming open-minded. People are. You see the videos of them posting the bricks of the police taking it out. People are starting to catch on to these things that
You saw
are.
that? That's crazy. Is that like, and like, if
Yeah.
you look at that and you're like, is that real? And then I mean, like, I've seen more things in the last couple of weeks on the internet that I'm like, is that real? Like, like yesterday I saw a protester just talking and he got arrested for just talking, like peacefully talking with a bunch of people around, and they're so it's a crazy, crazy time, and you have to be grateful, like you said, no matter what, you know.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, I think we covered a lot here, bro. This was a good conversation.
Definitely. It was amazing. This was an
I'm
amazing.
interested. I was gonna say I'm
I
interested to know who wants to hear like us go deeper into what area, because I feel like we touched on a lot of different things, which is good to kind of give everybody a good feel for you and what you guys are doing at your business and with the one percenters and with John and everything. So now we can kind of continue to work together and
yeah,
just bring the value. I'm never gonna be InfoWars, you know what I mean? I'm never trying to be like that, and I don't think
yeah,
you are
yeah.
either, because
No,
I
not
think
at
that
all.
puts too many targets on our backs. But I feel like if we can
Definitely.
do our part by not just educating people on how to make money, but actually giving them that foundational, fundamental side of it, where it's like, let's be open-minded, let's look at new ideas, then I think we're doing our part, at least right now, you
Oh,
know?
100%. Yeah, yeah. I am like I said, I could spend 2 hours on that topic. Later today, I am gonna film a podcast
Yeah,
solely revolved around everything that's going on.
good.
I do
Well,
try to get my.
we'll make sure, good. And for everybody that's still listening, I'm going to put Matt, you're going to send me when we get off all the links you want me to put in the description, exactly how you want me to put them. That way everybody can be directed right to that episode, because I'm sure they want that. And then also your the podcast main website, your Instagram, that whole thing, because I want them in touch with you as well. All right.
Yeah, I appreciate it. I appreciate
Dude,
it. I had
I
tons of
appreciate
fun on
you.
this.
Dude,
I
thank
hope
you.
you can,
Dude,
run it
absolutely.
back. Yeah, I loved it.
Absolutely, brother. All right. So thank you, everybody. We appreciate it. Matt, thank you again, brother. And we'll talk to you guys soon.
All right, take care, guys.